Hey gang, and welcome to another Animal Crossing video. I am Crossing Channel, and in the latest update for Animal Crossing New Horizons, which is the 1.11 update that just launched, we've seen some really interesting changes behind the scenes about DIY recipes that you might not yet know about. Not only that, but we've also seen some brand new DIY recipes introduced in the game, and some other strange goings on that I thought would be really interesting to talk about within a video. Since there's a lot of stuff going on with DIYs, I think it's time that I unpack it all and check out what you need to know about DIY recipes in this latest Animal Crossing update. So let's get straight into this. So Animal Crossing fans probably know of treasure islands, which are basically these crazy islands full of items that people with modded Switches usually host. These can contain a bunch of different DIY recipes, items that you can collect, and even inaccessible items. Now, another thing that you might not have known about is that there are inaccessible DIY recipes that are in the game. These are basically things that are usually included in bundles, or maybe your character will learn through natural methods and you'll never actually collect the recipe yourself. Well, these little islands actually host their own inaccessible DIY recipes that players can collect. However, within the latest update, it seems like Nintendo has kind of clamped down on this a bit and made life a bit more difficult for the people who host and use these treasure islands. Now, of course, using treasure islands technically is against Nintendo's rules. They don't really like people doing it. In the past, Nintendo has punished people who modded their games. For example, they took away the star trees, which was definitely a very big talking point within the community. And this time around, it seems like they've made it so you can't actually trade these little DIY recipes. You can't pick them up and put them in your pockets and bring them back to your own island. Now, this actually does make a lot of sense because, like I mentioned, these are inaccessible DIY recipes. You can't get them usually in the game. So it kind of surprised me it took Nintendo this long to prevent players from bringing them back to their own islands. Of course, if you go to someone's treasure island and you see these DIY recipes, you can still learn them if you're on their island, but you can't actually bring them back for yourself. This change definitely seemed like one that was a long time in the making, so like I said, I'm not too surprised that Nintendo did it, but it's certainly very interesting. Like I mentioned, a lot of these recipes are ones that are included in bundles like you see here on the screen, and other ones that you get throughout the course of the game, maybe for example, ones that you'd get during Turkey Day in a bundle, or ones that you'd learn during Bunny Day, and then other ones maybe you'd learn when you're hitting rocks and such. So they're basically DIY recipes that Nintendo wants you to learn the natural way, so it seems like they've taken a look at that and said, okay, people are trading these online, we don't want them to do that, we don't want them to bring them back to their own islands and spread them around, so we're going to make it a little bit more difficult. Now, it seems like Nintendo wasn't able to stop players from learning these entirely, because I guess maybe that would just mess up the game a little bit, but they certainly have made it more difficult for people who use treasure islands to trade these DIY recipes. As far as I know though, all of the normal DIY recipes that you can get throughout the course of the game are still tradable, which is good, because I don't know about you, but I get a ton of duplicate DIY recipes. It is obvious that Nintendo does want us to trade those recipes, that's why they give us so many duplicates throughout the course of the game, but once again they have clamped down on modding in Animal Crossing New Horizons, and who knows what they'll do next. After Star Trees though, I'm certainly interested in seeing, Nintendo's kind of response to people modding Animal Crossing New Horizons and what they've done to kind of try and prevent people from doing that. But don't worry, that's not the only interesting thing that has happened with DIY recipes in the latest Animal Crossing update. There's definitely more to go over. One thing that is incredibly notable in the latest update is that they've introduced 3 brand new DIY recipes, which was a complete surprise to us. I really didn't expect them to bring out new Halloween items within this update. I'm sure by now you've heard that they did introduce some new Halloween items, which you can actually buy from Nook's Cranny, but you can also get DIY recipes during the month of October as well. So if you time travel forward, you can actually catch your villagers crafting some of these brand new DIY recipes like you see my character doing on screen. And like I mentioned, this is just normal gameplay. I don't know why Nintendo decided to do it like this, because usually they time lock this kind of stuff, or I honestly wasn't expecting them to even include Halloween content within this update because they didn't mention it within their announcement. So it definitely is very strange, but it is super cool that we have some brand new DIY recipes to craft, because I don't know about you, I've been playing the game since launch, so I basically have every single DIY now, and it's really nice to see some new ones added, even if it is only free items. Of course, all of these items can be customized, so you can get a bunch of different colors for them as well. They'll mostly require pumpkins to craft because of course they are for Halloween. Now, one thing we don't currently know yet is if Nintendo will plan on introducing even more DIY recipes for the Halloween season, maybe in another update before that point happens. I think it is actually possible because them just adding 3 new items seems a bit unusual to me. I mean, I know we're kind of used to not seeing a ton of new items added to these last updates, but I would have thought they would have gone a bit more all out for Halloween, kind of like they did with Bunny Day, especially since there's such significant events in the game. But who knows, if you want to get these DIY recipes, you can time travel forward to get them. There's no modding required, no treasure islands required to get these. If you want to get them, you can get them yourself. A little piece of advice is though, probably don't do that. I would recommend just waiting until Halloween to get them yourself. But of course, play the game however you want to. If you do want these brand new items, you can craft them for yourself with DIY recipes that your villagers will give you. Now, another really strange thing has happened with DIY recipes, and it does kind of feel connected with Nintendo adding new ones and kind of changing some things with the unattainable ones. When you go to sort your DIY recipes, which is a feature that I actually didn't know existed until I made this video, you'll discover that sorting by new does not work anymore. It's really strange, but when you sort by new, seemingly it will just show you all of the items kind of in the order of the series, basically, which is really strange. Now, when I sort by series, you'll see that my new item does actually pop up, so this is even more unusual, but when you sort by date obtained, they don't come up in the order they're supposed to, so this is clearly some kind of new bug that has been introduced within the latest update. Now, of course, this isn't really going to affect players too much, it's not like a game-breaking bug or anything like that, but I did see some people commenting about it on my recent videos, so I thought I would talk about it and mention that this is a thing. If you're seeing this happen, don't worry, you're not the only one who's affected by it, everyone is, and you know, for those of you who didn't even know this feature existed, you're welcome, because I literally had no idea you could sort your DIY recipes. I don't usually go to this menu very often, I won't lie, I usually just go to the crafting menu, so I wouldn't be too surprised if there are other people out there who had no idea that this was even a thing. But once again, it certainly is interesting to see lots of different mini kind of changes with DIY recipes, either behind the scenes or more apparently within the latest update for Animal Crossing New Horizons. I think a lot of us are waiting for crafting updates, especially the quality of life update, which would allow us to craft multiple of the same item at once. I'm looking at you, Bait. And I do think that potentially in the future we could see that happen. We did see quality of life updates come to custom designs, so maybe we would get that for crafting, which is another major feature. But let me know in the comments section down below, what do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the brand new DIY recipes. Were you expecting to see any new ones with this update? And are you going to go craft them for yourself? Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, show your support. If you made it to the end, be sure to leave a comment down below saying Bob's Gang. You can also support my channel every month by becoming a channel member. You can get a whole bunch of cool perks for doing so, like exclusive emojis, a badge by your name, access to our members only Discord, and more. So definitely check out the join button or click the link in the description to learn more.